So I will be presenting segment anything model and paper, and it is from Kirillov, Hinton and others, and they are from the Meta research group, and this paper was published in 2023 on to the International Conference on Computer Vision. So let's first talk about the intuition behind SAM or segment anything. So the inspiration for SAM comes from the large language models like GPT-3 and BERT. So as we know and we have discussed, like we have these large language models as the backbone, and we can use these kind of models to do several types of downstream tasks like next token prediction and then generating question and answers like that. So as we know, GPT-3 was trained on next token prediction and BERT was trained on mass language prediction. So those are the main tasks that these models were trained on, and we have then used these models to do various kind of downstream tasks. So in LLMs we have the luxury of using these large language models, large models, and do the downstream tasks. But in computer vision, how do we generate a generalizable model or foundation model which can be used then to do some various kind of downstream tasks? So that's the inspiration that SAM got. So what is the foundation model that they need to build, and what is the task that they need to use? So in their paper they say that in this work their goal is to build a foundation model for image segmentation. So there were several kind of image segmentation models like RCMM and other stuff, but they were mainly like specified to either datasets or a specific task. So their goal is to build a foundation model that can do all of those downstream tasks. So in the SAM, they have mainly three parts. They define what the task is. So like in LLMs, which is next token prediction and mass language prediction, they have to define what is a generalizable task, and then they come up with a model, and finally they build the largest existing dataset up to date for image segmentation. So these are the three components that we will be discussing. So let us first go into the segment anything task. So the task that they are going to achieve is the model to predict a valid segmentation mask given any segmentation prompt. So as you can see, they have tested with mainly 4 types of prompts here. So this is a point prompt, so we can give background and foreground prompts, and this is a bounding box. This is a dense mask, and we can also use text prompts as well to generate the mask. Then another thing that they have to tackle is the ambiguity awareness. So here you can see, like if we give a dense mask or a bounding box, then obviously the objective is clear. So we can clearly identify, if we draw bounding box around this cat, then the objective should be clear that this object should be identified and masked. But if we give a point, there's something called ambiguity, where like if you see this example, if we mark out this point, as you can see, this green point is given as the prompt. This might be referring to the whole person, or only the backpack with the straps, or only this like a small strip. So the model doesn't know what the output mask should be, or what object it should mask out. So the model should be aware of this ambiguity, and to tackle that, what they do is they predict 3 kinds of mask. So the whole part, the whole mask, whole body, and a part of the image, and also a sub part of that image. So to tackle the ambiguity, what they do is they generally output three outputs for a single prompt. So now that we have defined our task, let us now come into the segment anything model. So in the segment anything model, they are using three submodels, which is image encoder, prompt encoder, and mask decoder. So as you can see, up until this point, the image encoder runs and also the prompt encoder runs separately. So they can be worked separately without having knowledge about this image in embedding and prompt embedding. After they have generated those values separately, then we have a mask decoder, lightweight mask decoder, which can incorporate these image embeddings and prompt embeddings and calculate the final mask. So this is the image pipeline, mask generation pipeline. So one important thing to note is, since this is separable, and we know like in SAM they are using 1024 by 1024 images. So to generate an image embedding in such caliber, we need some serious computational power. So as you can see, in a GPU it usually takes around 0.15 seconds to generate an image embedding. But since this is separable, what we can do is, for several prompts we can generate this image embedding and store it, and for several prompts we can use them, and it is very fast. As you can see, even in web browser it is running on 0.055 seconds. So for several prompts we can give them and use these learned embeddings and generate the mask. So now let us dive into each of these submodels. So in the image encoder, they are using a MAE pre-trained VIT model. So we have discussed this MAE part, so it is very efficient because of the masking part. And the image input size used in the model is 1024 by 1024, and the output embedding generated by the model is 256 times 64 by 64. So the image is downsampled by 4 times, and 256 channels were added at the end. Then we have the prompt encoder, which is the interesting part of the model. So as we have discussed, the model's task is to generate a mask even when there are several types of prompts. So the main prompts that we will be discussing is these 4: mask, points, box, and text. So let us see how for each of these prompts they generate the prompt encoding. So for a point prompt, what they are doing is they are generating a 256 dimensional vector embedding, and it is the sum of like for a point, the embedding is a sum of positional embedding and a learned embedding indicating foreground or background. So what that means is like as you can see in the demo, we can give the points as foreground or background. So for those two scenarios where if the point is a foreground or point is a background, we can define that, and according to that value, there are 2 values which were learned during the training for foreground and background, and those will be added accordingly. And here you can see now this green will be foreground and this red is a background. So each of these, this will be like for this background embedding will be added, for this foreground embedding will be added to the positional encoding. So that's how they generate the prompt embedding for points. And for boxes, what they do is simply take this upper left corner and bottom right corner, and they again, in this case, sum of a positional embedding of the top left corner and learned embedding for indicating the top left corner. So sorry, for this point they will be embedding the positional value as well as another learned embedding which says okay, this point is the upper left corner, and for here again they will be using the positional embedding and another embedding which says this is the bottom right corner will be added to that embedding. And that's how the prompt embedding is generated for a box, and for a text they are using off-the-shelf clip model. We have discussed this. So clip can generate an image embedding in the latent space which corresponds to this text. So they are using this off-the-shelf clip model to generate the embedding for text. And finally we have dense masks. So you can see like these points, box and text are going through the prompt encoder, but the mask is going through a convolution layer. So generally, like in points, boxes and text, all of them are sparse prompts. Where like in points we are only giving several points, and in boxes we only give these 2 coordinates. So it is sparse. But in dense masks, what we have to do is we have to define what is the pixels that per mask term. So because of that, we can't send our mask prompt through the prompt encoder. We have to use a separate conv layer, and what they are doing is they are generally using a 512 by 512 mask, and then using the convolution layer they are sending it and getting an output of 64 by 256, which is the value which will be coming through from this image embedding. So what they do is they add the mask convolution value element wise to the image embedding and pass it through the mask decoder. So I will come back to the mask part in a bit. So then let us go through the mask decoder. So we have discussed the image encoder, prompt encoder, and finally we are discussing the mask decoder. So for mask decoder they are using 2 stacks of transformer layers. So what they do is they first add these output tokens to the prompt tokens. So this is similar to a CLS token or class token in a VIT. So as you can remember, in VIT we are adding a separate class token. Similarly, we are adding separate output tokens. As I was saying, we are adding these output tokens, which is similar to a class token in a VIT. And then we are also getting the image embedding as well. So what we do is we first send these output tokens through a self-attention layer. So then, after this self-attention layer, what we do is we take the cross-attention between the output tokens and image embedding, and then those will be sent through a MLP layer, and again this is forward to a transformer layer with cross-attention. Again it will be taking image embedding and the token embedding. So in these instances, the query will be changed. So in this case the query will be tokens, and in this case the query will be image embeddings. So they are taking cross-attention with respect to image embedding as well as with respect to prompt embedding, and they are stacking 2 of these, and the output will be finally sent through 2 separate parts. So this is the transpose convolution part where they upsample the image embedding, and also they are sending this through a MLP layer, which they get the token to image attention, and they are sending it through a MLP layer, and they are getting 3 by 512 by 512 to generate the get the dot product and generate the final mask. And again they are using a separate MLP to calculate the IOU scores or the confidence scores of each mask. So for a text, this will be generating 3 masks, and for each of these masks they will be generating IOU scores. So some things that they have mentioned is the positional encodings are added to the image embedding whenever they participate in an attention layer, as well as the entire original prompt tokens will be re-added to the updated prompt tokens whenever they participate in an attention layer. So by doing that, by adding the positional embedding again and again, what they do is they make sure that it has the positional encoding data information which is essential to generate the mask. Then during the training they are using a loss function with a combination of focal loss and dice loss. So the ratio is 20:1. The focal loss is something like this. So it is minus 1 minus pi to the power of gamma log pi. So this is a weighted loss, kind of a weighted loss of the cross entropy. So what they do is, like, if the probability of our prediction is too high, which means the model is very confident that that point is a mask or the background or foreground. Since this gamma value, that will be close to 0, which means, like, for higher confidence values the loss will be close to 0, but for lower confidence values the loss will be high. Therefore the loss will be mainly focused on those high error examples, which mean the pixels which are very hard to train on. So by adding this focal loss, what we do is we make the model learn hard examples. So that's the purpose of focal loss. And again, to get the intersection or union high, we use a dice loss. So the dice coefficient is computed as this, and we will take the 1 minus this value to get the dice loss. So they will be added in a 20:1 ratio. Then how do SAN generate tokens, masks? So they are doing it in an interactive and iterative segmentation method. So what they do is, they use 11 iterations during the training. So at the first iteration, what they do is they input the input image, and they, let's say this is for points, and we give a point embedding, and then it will be generating 3 masks with the corresponding IOU scores. So at the first iteration, the model will choose the mask with highest IOU, and then, so if this is the ground truth and this is the prediction, what they do is they get the error region. So this is at the red points you can see that the prediction is predicting that it is part of a mask, but it is not actually a part of a mask. And in blue region, what they have, in blue region the model has missed those mask parts, but the ground truth includes it. So in the second iteration, what they do is they randomly sample from this error region and input that point as the prompt with the information of foreground or background. So if this point is given to the model, then it will be obviously a background, because this is not included in the mask, and this will be a foreground like this. So this is a false negative which will be given as a foreground point, and with the false positive, that point will be given as a background point. And then sorry, in our model, so this is how mask comes into play. So at the first iteration, this mask will be not 0. There will be another embedding which was learned to predict, learned to say that there is no valid mask. So at the first iteration, that will be passed through this convolution layer. But after the next, like in the second iteration, what they do is they get that output mask and input it through this convolution and add it to this image embedding. So sorry. Yeah, so the iterative sampling is done 8 times to achieve good results. So they have done this up to 16 times, and they have found out that 8 is the optimal value. And also they are doing 2 more iterations where there are no prompts are given. So it is only the mask given, and in total they are doing 8 iterations by giving both prompt and mask 2 times by giving only the mask, and the first time obviously to generate a mask. So in total there are 11 iterations in the training algorithm. So that's that about the training. Now another important aspect of SAM is the data set which it was generated. So why is that important? Because it is the largest data set up to now for the task of image segmentation. So it is an utmost important task and we need to discuss it. So during the segment anything like training process, so they have trained 2 models. One is the one that we are using and another model used to generate these fully automatic and semi-automatic data. So obviously that second model is more like given priority for accuracy instead of latency. So that SAM model is only trained on this assisted manual and semi-automatic data. So they are helping to generate fully automatic data, and this will be used to train our main model. So in these 3 stages, in assisted manual what they do is the original SAM model will be trained on the existing data set initially, and using that again like humans will be annotating some data set as well. So a new data will be given and humans will be annotating them, and a data set will be starting to build. Then in the semi-automatic data set what they do is they use the SAM model to generate the marks, and the annotators will be asked to annotate the marks which were missed by SAM. So obviously in semi-automatic stage what they do is they are trying to catch the marks which were hard to capture on the SAM model. So in the semi-automatic stage that is what is done, and in the finally in fully automatic stage no annotators will be used. Only the model will generate all the data, and with these 3 stages they have achieved 11 million images with over 1 billion masks. So this is the largest data set, and these are some of the examples of the data set. As you can see, there are varying number of masks per each image. So these are images with less than 50 masks, and here you can see it is more than 500 masks. So that is pretty impressive. Then let us do some analysis on the data set. So as you can see, data set SAM outperforms all of these other data set. As you can see, the 11 million images, which is the highest number of images, compared to that open images with 1 million, and 1.1 billion masks, which is like 100 times, 1000 times more than this LGIS dataset. Then as you can see, the number of masks per image is quite good on SAM dataset. So this orange line is SAM. As you can see, it contains comparatively high number of masks in 100 to 200 high number of images with 100 to 200 masks, and also comparing the relative segmentation mask size, you can see it contains mostly small values. So these are somewhat similar, the concavity values and relative segmentation mask. So it usually follows the standard distribution, but it contains more masks. And also this is another important fact, which is the image size normalized mask center distribution. So we are getting each of the center of the mask. So like we can generate several thousands of masks and we get the center of each of mask and plot it. So as you can see, in every data set there is a center bias. Obviously photographers tend to photograph with center. Like if we want to photograph a foreground, then we usually get the center of the mask to the center of the image. So that is what we call photographer bias. So that is existing in all of the masks in all of the dataset, but SAM usually have a higher spread, so it has a very high corner spread. As you can see, even in the corners it has some centers, so therefore this is like a very much diverse dataset. So this is the image distribution in the SAM dataset. As you can see, it has a good distribution among the whole world, which is very good because it allows the model to be generalized into any kind of dataset, any kind of unseen data. Then they have done several experiments using the SAM model. So the main task of the model is to build a foundation model. So then they are using that foundation model and fine-tuning it to several tasks to see what is the performance. So the first transfer learning instance they have doing is generalization to new datasets. So these were not seen during the training, but you can see like the segmentation is very good. It has identified several actually almost all of the masks. And these are the performance for new datasets. As you can see, like in most cases, this is the comparison with RITM, which is the state-of-the-art model at that time. So compared to that, it performs very well on several set of data, and also it somewhat performs badly on this data as well. But there's like a thing about this as well. I will come back to it. So if we like compare the mean IOU values compared to the number of points given to generate the mask, as you can see, with a single point, obviously SAM is performing better. So if the center is given, the gap is somewhat close, but if there is a random point is given instead of the center of the mask, then the gap between the accuracy grows. So which means SAM is more prone to having it is good to, like, it is performing well even when a random point is given. And this SAM oracle is like this accuracy is computed by getting the best mark by comparing the mean IOU score. So instead of getting that IOU score, in this SAM oracle model, what they are doing is they are giving that output to a human and asking what is the best mask. So by doing that, we can see that like by interacting with human and asking them what is the best mask generated, it obviously performs very well. And here again, like if we compare the human quality, you can see this is a graph with human quality. In almost all the cases, SAM is performing well. So for the humans, SAM is performing very better. So even in this like negative performing data sets, like we can see DRAM. In DRAM they are performing negatively, but in human eye we can see the SAM is mostly close to ground. So what this means is, even though like it maybe omits to add some few pixels here and there, it like basically generates the basic shape of the mask very good. Then zero shot transfer learning is used in like several methods, several tasks as well. So object detection, we have object region proposals, instance segmentation, and text to mask generation. So in edge detection, you can see like it is performing very well compared to ground truth, and it is like outputting some extra edges as well. So as you can see, like these are obviously the edges which is in the image, but they were not classified, they were not recognized during the ground truth, which is during annotation, but SAM was able to identify those as well. So in edge detection, what they do is they first take the masks and they send it through a Sobel filter and get the edges. So these are the performance for edge detection. As you can see, like SAM is performing relatively well compared to the state-of-the-art methods. Then we have instance segmentation. In instance segmentation, the model is performing like first it will be Sam will be provided with the bounding box of the image, and using that he is computing the instance segmentation. So even in that, it has comparatively good results for each of the data set. So these are the results. So this is what I have mentioned, like even though VLT diet gives numerically best results, you can see like comparing the mask, this has more visually appealing mask type. So here you can see like some parts are cut, but here like it gives a somewhat good shape. Then for text to mask generation, they have used off the shelf clip model. I'll wind up quickly. So they have used the off the shelf clip model. So it also gives a better results, but it sometimes doesn't identify the exact shape. But if we give the clip embedding with the point to assist it, it can identify those masks as well. Then this is another important thing in the experiments. What they do is they first like identify, here you can see like it first identifies the tire, and what they do here is they compute the, like they check the similarity between each of these masks in the latent space. So during the in the latent space, they have identified that these masks have the similar embeddings with these tires, and so by comparing that, they have identified okay, these are these belong to the same class. So this was not like pursued deeply. It was just done as an experiment. So that's all the details about the SAM model. So let me quickly jump into the demonstration as well. So here first I will go to the demo that they have provided. If we take an image, let's say this one, so it first computes the image embedding. Then after that we can play with the prompts and generate a valid mask. So okay, the image embedding is generated. Now you can see like if I hover through these areas, the masks are generated. So if I only want to take the face of this cat, I can remove this part and it will generate this kind of mask. And I can like give a box as well to generate the mask like this, and also and also I can like cut out everything in this, generate all the masks in this image as well using this everything option. So that is the interactive interface that they have provided, and also like the code is publicly available as well as the dataset. So here I have done some experiments, and this is an image, and so we can point out the here you can see I have given the input point as a point and identifying whether it's a foreground or background. So here I am saying that at this point it is a foreground. So this is the point mark as the foreground point, and using that it generates, for a point it generates 3 valid masks. So this is only the first part of the cup, and this is included in this handle as well, and finally the whole cup. And also like here I am giving 2 points both as foreground, so if we want to cut out a part we can give them as background as well. So here if I am giving 2 points, it automatically, like if I am giving more than 1 point, it like don't compute 3 masks. 3 masks were computed because of the ambiguity. So since 2 points are given, it like gives only a 1 mask with whole part. Then again, this is a example for a box. So if I generate a box, now for the box, the input should be in this type with the first top left corner as the first index and second bottom right corner as the second index, and using that I can generate this. And again, this is finally the mask generated for all the image. So as you can see, it has identified the background points and foreground points as well, with like in this case they have identified this and this as separate parts, and I can cut out that as well, and this can be incorporated with the clipboard as well. So that's all from the demonstration. Welcome any questions.
1 or 2 questions.